Welcome to Equity in Focus. I am your host, Kevin Hooks. Today, we have the extraordinary opportunity to delve into the world of impactful advocacy with Todd Belcour, the driving force behind the transformative organization Social Change. Todd, your work is inspiring a new era of justice and equity. So thank you for being on the show with us. We love having you here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. It's a true honor and privilege. And I'm a fan of yours, a fan of your show and all of your work. And it means a lot for me to have a chance to be here today. Thank you.
No, we really appreciate it. Before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
My name is Todd Belcour. Trying to be busy like Kevin Hooks. I have a nonprofit called Social Change, which is committed to liberation unapologetically, the liberation of marginalized communities and liberation of Black and Brown communities. And we don't run from the word Black. We don't run from the word Brown. We don't run from our mission. It's to eliminate health disparities, dismantle the new Jim Crow, to eliminate hunger, address food insecurity, housing insecurity in our communities. And we do that by running the race, by providing legal assistance that people need, by providing proper farmers markets that people need, but more importantly, by changing and addressing the root causes, the policies responsible for the injustices that continue to afflict our people and oppress our people for generations. And doing that enough is not alone. We need to make sure we have more soldiers in the field, more people understand the struggles of our community members and people across the world. And that's why we have our International Social Change Film Festival. And I was inspired to do all this based on my upbringing. Raised by a single mother in Southside Chicago. I had 3 older siblings, one was paraplegic. So I grew up navigating a world where entire systems did not account for my mother's struggle, for my brother's struggle, for our struggle. But in spite of that, she fought and did everything she could, sacrificed as much as anyone possibly can, so we could have a chance. And so that's what I do in the context of social change. I sacrifice what I can so others can have a chance and not deal with the same hardship, pain, and struggles that my mother dealt with and my siblings dealt with and then I dealt with.
You know, you really lead me into the question that I want to open with anyway, which is about the importance of inspiration and those not only that came before us, but the people that continue to inspire you each day. I see the photo behind you of somebody who inspires me. So I'm curious, who's your inspiration that keeps you in the fight, especially on those tough days?
Yeah, when you think about how difficult the fight is, when you think about the way in which the status quo and oppression is just kind of a locomotive, that you need to be constantly pushing back against to yield any sort of progress. You need to have inspiration. You need to have motivation. You need to have a tribe to keep you on your square. And when you need that breath, you need to take away from the front lines for a second that can jump in for you. And I'm grateful to have, seen that by example through my mother's example of service and all that she sacrificed for my family and all of us. But also there's amazing people and leaders I've had a chance to meet as I've grown in my journey and gain more skills and accomplishments that allow me to be in more rooms, to be more impactful for our communities. People like a Terrell Brooks, who's a hyper connector. He knows everybody, done everything, master publicist, professor, author, but also people that, people may not know who aren't as heralded, people in the community who are local leaders. There's a woman who's the head of a housing project of community organization that we work with. Her name is Carol Wallace. She does so much to motivate me, inspire me. She's well into her 70s. She uses a walker, but you would not know it in terms of the way she commands rooms and makes sure people do the things that they need, not only for themselves, but to work together to empower the entire community. So whether it's people, like President Obama, of course, or people who are on the street level doing stuff day in and day out, who may never see the camera and receive the accolades deserved. I'm just inspired everywhere I turn, and I'm grateful for all those different forms of inspiration.
Yeah, there's so many unsung heroes that people that just go unnoticed, just littered throughout history. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, how do you honor that inspiration and those individuals with your specific work at Social Change, focusing on, liberation and systemic injustice? How do you honor that and make it a little different than other organizations, so to speak?
Yeah, that's right. What we do is empower. What we try to do is make sure we give everyone that we encounter all the tools, all the resources, all the nuts and bolts techniques to amplify their voice and make sure they're the one that's the master of their story. They're the one that's actually the one who's responsible for what the legislation looks like, for what the community response looks like. And we provide whatever support we can to make that happen. So when it relates to someone like Ms. Carol Wallace, you're saying how do we honor her and her struggle? We honor it by amplifying her voice, giving her a microphone, giving her a megaphone, and making sure she has the resources so the little babies and the projects where she resides in the Dearborn Homes have access to healthy resources, access to diapers, healthy food, Easter baskets, things that you may take for granted when you have means. It's difficult as a child when you see everyone else getting and celebrating things that you don't get a chance to celebrate. And I think that's we're denying too many children of childhood. When you have seniors like Ms. Wallace who've seen everything and undergone and endured everything, for us to have the opportunity to support her and stand alongside her and amplify her in Women's History Month, Black History Month, and other things is really one of the ways that we can not only give back, but to show that we're trying to be a good torchbearer for our ancestors.
Yeah, you talked about, the pain of a young person not being able to participate in many instances like their friends because of the tragic conditions in so many of our communities. I know, and I
Yeah.
know the personal, sting of not having a presentless Christmas or, sleep for dinner.
Yeah.
What do you say to a young person that just feels like there's just the world is against them, but you want to inspire them to know that someday not only can they change their circumstances, but help others change theirs?
Well, I think the beauty of that struggle is twofold, brother. One, you understand the world in a way no one else does. You know what struggle is in a really personal way. You know grateful and what it means to appreciate things in a different way. But you also know that you're not alone. This is not a battle or struggle that you have to undertake yourself. There are people you can look to. There are Kevin Hooks in the world. There are Todd Belcours in the world. There are Roy Walkers in the world who've overcome all these seemingly impossible struggles just because they just wouldn't quit. They wouldn't let themselves quit, and they surround themselves with others who love them enough to see them through these dark times and make sure they wouldn't allow themselves to quit either. So that's what my advice would be to young people. Not only to look to examples of people who have overcome similar struggles, no struggles the same, but similar struggles, but also make sure you're surrounding yourself by other people who are trying to get to where you're trying to get, who also dream big, aspire big, and won't take no for an answer in terms of are they going to fulfill their dreams? Absolutely. It just may take be a harder road, a longer road, but that's a road that they will end at the finish line and look back and be like, wow, look at God has done.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that. You also mentioned health disparities. Talk about like,
Mm.
what are you guys doing and what the impact, number one, of health disparities in our community, and then number two, the kinds of things we're doing on the front lines to fight to eradicate those disparities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's happening in our communities is completely vile. I mean, we're losing generations of community members well before their time. It's premature death that's serious. So few of our community members know their grandparents or great grandparents just because of the lack of care and a lack of healthy option, lack of food, but also living in these communities that violence is racking neighborhoods and seniors are scared to leave the homes and people are being carjacked. All these particular things are really taking community members from us well before their time. And as a result of that, it's not only health disparities like more likely to get diabetes and hypertension and comorbidities like that, which is serious, and that's part of this work we engage in. But in this most simple form, we're taking lives before they should be gone, and that's affecting family unity, family strength, and those are things that we need. Those are things we rely upon. That's the bedrock of all communities. So when we engage in our wellness work, our health disparities addressing work, we really talk about the importance of giving families longevity, giving families opportunity to spend more time getting the wisdom from their grandparents before they leave us, giving our youth the opportunity to live a childhood where they're not obese and feeling ashamed of how they appear. And that's through the context of giving people healthy food options, fresh, healthy food. So they're not just stuck with whatever the options may be at a gas station that's still miles away, but also recognizing that people don't necessarily trust healthcare systems. So what can we do to bring our partnerships to bear, to bring vaccinations, to bring testing, to bring preventative sort of care that may be the heart and soul of how you prevent some of these illnesses long term that people are just forsaking because they don't trust the system. How can we use our ability and our credibility in the community to kind of bridge that trust? And that's why we have free pop-up health clinics as well. So between the free farmers markets, free health clinics, but also with some of these other barriers to health like employment and housing, we provide legal assistance to help with those things as well. So all those things come together to not only improve quality of life, but lengthen life. And those are things we're really honored to say we've been doing and doing well for some time now.
Yeah, you mentioned the distrust that is prevalent, particularly in communities of color. And
Yeah.
it's a learned distrust I read a book
Mhm.
called Medical Apartheid, where it talked about some of the coordinated, assaults on the black and brown body over 13 generations that make the
Mhm.
Tuskegee experiment look like it was a walk in the park. What do you
Yeah.
do to help address that really warranted distrust of the medical profession?
Yeah, it's important that people remember before people use mice, they use black people. When there's issues getting things,
That's
when there's
right.
issue getting things passed by the government in terms of what was it, use a 3/5 of a person. That's probably a good place to start. So when people say, "Well, I don't know why people just don't get vaccinated," it's because you don't understand that people are tapping to the pain of their ancestors and are not going to ignore the fact that the medical profession has abused and mistreated them for generations. And they're not going to allow themselves to be surprised by something that may come down the line saying this vaccine does this does that, and the people who are on the front lines to try it are the ones who bear the greatest burden of the pain and struggle, and they don't want to be a part of that conversation. I don't blame them for that.
Mhm.
So what we don't do, we don't judge people. We're not pointing fingers at people. We explain why it's important for us to get it, for it's important for our seniors to get vaccinated and things like that in terms of what the data shows for their health, and why it's important for us to protect our seniors and protect ourselves. Even young folks who are like, "Oh, I'm healthy." Well, also this helps you protect your seniors when you spend time with them over the holidays. You want to make sure that even if you have no symptoms, that you're not in a position where you're accidentally giving something to someone you love that may change your life forever. So that is a real struggle, and that's why I think the medical profession would be wise to continue to partner with organizations like us at Social Change that have community credibility and trust. And we do our research too. We don't just be opening up any sort of opportunities of things. But I was speaking more specifically about like Moderna and things like the higher end. We didn't distribute Johnson and Johnson, for example.
Okay.
We didn't distribute just any vaccine. Only the ones that had the best clinical testing opportunities and proof that we could demonstrate is the only thing we circulated, and that's for those reasons.
I love it. I champion data-driven decision making in our community-based organizations. So talk about how important it is for you to do the data mining and the
Yeah.
researching in order to help inform your decisions.
I've had two sentiments about that. One, certainly in favor of what you're saying. I mean, if you're making decisions without recognizing the extent of the need, and the true magnitude of potential impact, then you are making decisions in the dark. But there's another degree to that where a lot of things that are impacting communities are never really studied. They're never really engaged. So that's why we also engage in survey work, canvassing work as an organization, so we can better understand what's going on in rural Eastern North Carolina, a place that's never studied, never engaged, never interacted with.
Right.
So we can understand for ourselves not only what we believe to be the case or believe to be issues or what we hear from the people we interact with, but really have a real sample size by which we can go to legislators, go to funders, go to people who say they care, and make sure those stakeholders are armed with not only the incredible need that's there, but also the solution that are community driven, community led, that can address those needs and give them a chance to bring all that together and watch the impact flourish.
Yeah, man. I think that that's such an important message, and really, the techniques are important because so
Yeah,
often, people sit like even like us will sit on high, having been removed from the situation, and feel like we know best how best to serve their needs without
right.
talking to the people. So I
That's right.
really want to appreciate you doing that. So,
Oh,
I can talk about this all day, but I want to pivot a little bit because
okay, let's
you do
pivot.
so many things, right? So
Pivot.
you,
Pivot.
you talked about the new Jim Crow, and I
Yeah.
think you teach that as well. First and
Hmm.
foremost, so many people use the term, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. Can you give the history of the new Jim Crow, like where it came from with, T.D. Rice and back then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try to make it as brief as I can, especially in context of stuff like this. I mean, it's the evolution of slavery, from the very first moment an African is brought to this country and oppressed until the days of today, where descendants of Africans, but also people who are African American are still enslaved to some degree. And when I say enslaved, people are like, oh, that's not true. We're free. Freedom, but less freedom than our counterparts. And that's what I mean in this case. This is what I mean by the notion of liberation. Because when you talk about an entire community of people who are more likely to be surveilled, who are more likely to be arrested, more likely to be abused, more likely to be brutalized, who are more likely to receive substandard housing, education, all these things that we struggle with, that's not freedom. That's not the same freedoms they have. So I'm saying until we can get to the point where your race, your zip code does not determine the level of housing, education, and your ability to really live out your dream, then I'm continuing to say that we're not living in a free society. And the way in which the new Jim Crow interacts with that, it's a legalized discrimination against people, predominantly people of color, predominantly African American people, because of criminal records. So you can't say, well, no, I can't give you any opportunities right now because you're Black. You can't do that legally any longer. But what you can legally do is say, well, I wish I could. And it's not that you're Black, I promise, but all Black people have a criminal record. And I can't give it to anybody with a criminal record. So what can I do? So that's what it's mean. It's tantamount to slavery. It's certainly oppression. And it's something we're fighting to dismantle every day by changing laws to remove barriers to opportunity for people past mistakes, but also to address the way in which the police engage our communities in the first place, to make sure it's prioritizing life and prioritizing service, not necessarily putting people in the community to be scared of the very folks they pay to protect and serve them. And that's certainly the case now in too many communities. So we engage on the front end by engaging with police and working with teens to make sure that, they have other options and opportunities. But we also engage judges to make sure the sentencing structures are more reasonable. And they have things like escape hatches, so mandatory minimums aren't forcing people to be thrown away in prison for things that judges themselves find to be unreasonable and not justifiable by law otherwise. And then hoping on the back end when people are released, helping also create more programs within prison so people can have more skills and be in a better position to the extent that's even possible. You go to a torturous place like prison to put themselves forward and start a business and try to do better and stay on the right path, and removing barriers upon release. So when people are released, that they can have a chance to, regain their dignity, regain their manhood, womanhood, and reinsert themselves in the family as an asset and not a burden.
Yeah. And then the for-profit prison system, trying to eradicate that. I know that there's a lot of work being done in that space as well. Yeah. So we really appreciate that. But I really want to dive more into this new Jim Crow. You teach it to young people. What's the reaction like are you getting from this new generation of up and coming advocates when you teach them about these challenges?
Well, the thing is, I'm not teaching anything people don't know. So in terms of their current experience or their historic experience, I think what I do is kind of connect the dots. So you can see the way in which, the evolution of what police wore as slave catchers. And now it's just the apparatus of people in power is a way in which to maintain their power, but also to put a foot on the neck of folks who are or a threat not for physical reasons, but for excellence reasons. I mean, you see what happens. You leave Black people alone. You get things like Black Wall Street. Yep. You get things like, an incredible economy and solidarity and unity that threatens the entire way in which this country is seen. I mean, this country is seen as white supremacist for a reason. If it's not something done by white folks, it's seen as a threat. And so anytime Black folks have some sort of wonderful innovation, it's been taken. Everything Black folks have incredible, excellence in athletics or whatever, they're still receiving a very small percentage of what they're yielding for the person at the very top. And that's been an issue in our communities since the inception of this country. So I still don't call that freedom. I mean, I appreciate that I do have the chance to do things that even my mother wasn't able to do, and certainly my grandparents weren't. So that's progress, but that's not freedom. It's two separate things.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that distinction because that is a distinction with a difference. So I appreciate that. Yes. One of the things it's clear to me is you do a lot of grassroots, hub of the wheel type work. And for that, I'm grateful. Also make sure it's amplified through writings like at the Huffington Post and places like that. Talk about the importance of making sure that message, is amplified so other people can hear it.
That's right. I mean, if you're doing this work, it's an important part of it. But if you're not also taking the time to recruit more people to do the work, you're just running to burnout, So I think what we do is we do everything we can to not only do the work, but serve as able ambassadors and evangelists for the work to recruit more people. That's why we use storytelling as a mechanism. There's no better way to speak directly to someone's heart than from your heart, and that comes from storytelling. So we have our International Film Festival to bring together people from all over the world to see injustice, walk in the feet and the shoes of the folks who are struggling with it, and have them feel something, have them be inspired, like, wow, this is messed up. I want to do something about it. And we don't let that inspiration go. We don't let that feeling go. We ask people to hold on to that, because right after this film, we're going to talk to organizations who are doing things about these issues. We'll talk to people who are experiencing these issues, and you have a chance today to help them. So, because otherwise what happens, what you find is people feel like, scientifically it's been proven that even talking about an issue can give people the same sort of satisfaction as actually doing something about it. So what happens, we have a lot of folks who get caught in talking about issues. Not that there's not progress that can't be, somehow captured that way, but that's not sufficient. We need conversations to turn to concrete change. So that's what we do. We not only do we have events, we ask to get more volunteers on board. Not only do we have storytelling and opportunities for people to engage, we ask them to tap into our direct service events, or our advocacy, our legislative work. And, I'm sure I'm going to ask you to do something soon, Brother Hooks, because I think at the end of the day, everyone, that's the other part too. It's not, we don't just ask people to do something that's like out of their bailiwick and jump in there and present to the governor next week. What are people most passionate about? What are your gifts? We want people to tap into that and use that to the movement, because that's a lighter lift. You want to ask people to do something that's already something they love doing, and just convert a little bit of that effort and time and do a little bit to uplift community. And we do that. If we do that together, we create miracles, and that's what we're in the business of.
So yeah, and the miracles of what you're doing, particularly like what people I think undersell or underestimate, is the power of storytelling, like you talked about. I think it's a miracle generating forum. So in the film festival, are there projects that you're really proud of that you can share with our audience? Because I know it will resonate with the people watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no question, there's no year that's come that we haven't had a story or a struggle relating to violence in our communities, or how difficult it is for people to re-enter all over the nation. And as a result of those stories and those conversations, we have a robust policy platform that seeks to resolve the issues that we heard about. That's why in places like Georgia, that has some of the worst incarceration rates in the nation, we're working to create something called certificates of good standing that allow people who have demonstrated their terms of life, who can demonstrate their turn their lives around, an opportunity to do so in court, so they can get access to jobs, housing, start businesses that by law they would never be able to get for the rest of their life. So that's the difference between struggle and something closer to freedom. So that's not just hearing the story and hearing someone's pain, but like, oh, brother, I'm sorry to hear that. That's saying, brother, you're right. That's so messed up. We're going to stand alongside you, equip you to help kind of address this issue. And to the extent, your stress, your trauma is keeping you from following through, we're going to follow through for you, make sure this is done. So we passed over 30 pieces of legislation with that same sort of metric, the same formula. And I'm excited that we have such success, especially since we have a small budget. I mean, we've given over 1 million pounds of food. We've had 15 international film festivals. We've passed over 30 pieces of legislation. We have like over 1,000 events. I mean, all of that, we have like, $500,000 budget. So it's like, imagine we were funded like some of our white counterparts that serve a fraction of who we serve and how many we serve and the way we serve. And they have 10 times, 20 times our budget. So we're still working to get there. And that's, why my gray hair is coming in prematurely. But it's a work that's worth it.
Boy, you talking about, what's the fish and bread feeding 5,000?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. A budget like that, I've run nonprofits with, and I just couldn't even, the impact that you're having, the return on those dollars is impressive. So keep up that good work. But so for people, and I hear this a lot, I want to help, I just don't know how. What do you say to those kind of people?
Well, people know how to, get Uber Eats, you know what I'm saying? they know
they figure it out, right?
Right. They figure out when they're hungry what to do. So I think I'm being kind of cheeky, but I think at the end of the day, brother, what I ask people to do, if they want to make it simple, one day out the week or one day out the month, whatever you're going to spend on food, which is generally like $25, $50, ballers like you, $150 or whatever, direct that to liberation work. Help us feed others, help us fight for others, help us care for others. That's an easy way for people kind of understand like the way in which something small to them can mean a lot to others. But other times it's if people would love to get more involved and roll their sleeves up and say, hey, I've got a huge network, I've got all these skills, I've got time, let me tap in. Okay, let's get on the phone. Let's not just talk about it via email. Hey, Brother Hooks, what are the things you're most excited about? What regions are rock your heart the most? And what issues give you the most, keep you up at night? Okay, well, here are a few things we're working on. Any of these things interest you? No, that's fine. Let's think of something we can do together then. I mean, because at the end of the day, everything that moves a needle helps all of the work. So people don't have to jump into a lane that we already have that exists. We can create a new one as long as folks are willing with in earnest to put in the work, because we'll support and walk alongside anybody, but we don't necessarily have the bandwidth to add a whole new lane if we can't have people come with us. So that's another aspect of it too. And the easiest part of it all, spread the word. A lot of people spend, 2 hours a day on screens, swiping, flipping, share our stuff, follow us, share our stuff, encourage other people to get involved. That's the easiest way by far, but we've gotten a lot of support from that as well.
So if you was a recipient of one of those mega $1 million Mackenzie Scott grants or any of those philanthropists dropping that money, what's the first thing that you'd want to attack with a source of a new source of funding like that?
Yeah, I think what I would do is what we're already doing just on the small scale we can, given our small budget. I would uplift and amplify the production of Black farmers across the nation. There's no population of individuals that endure the level of discrimination and hate and abuse than Black farmers in our country. But they are not far removed from a time where they're literally feeding our entire country. So there's still generations of people are holding on with the last of their fingernails to this entire important bedrock of our country sort of sector. And what we found is we can help them get new equipment. If we can help them create a pipeline for apprenticeships and more people to kind of get into the sector. If we can remove some barriers to getting the things from harvest to market and get refrigerated trucks and things like that, then that can turn struggling farmers into thriving farmers. And that can also uplift entire communities, that can address food insecurity, and that can create a full economic empowerment model that we really need in this community. And I think if we were to start with things like that and at the same time tackle things like the discrimination people face because of criminal records and bring that job market and the job needs of that entire sector, which always needs incredible amount of labor, with removing barriers and providing incentives on the other end by providing the real legal assistance and short and long-term assistance our communities need. I think that's where liberation lies, brother. So that's where I would say, whether it be Mackenzie Scott, whomever, first, let's start supporting Black-run organizations. I'd love for them to do that. But the second thing would be that, no shade. I mean, I'm sure they just haven't heard of a lot.
In their defense, I know a few Black organizations that they got recipients. But I get your point.
Someone hand them a binder full of Black organizations and let's see what we can do. No, all that just aside, I mean, I think walking alongside us, come to see how we serve, I think that'll also help make the case. We don't always have the time to be in all the rooms and network to get in a position to talk and speak to people like that. But sure enough, if we would, no one's going to leave us saying, oh, they're not someone we should be supporting. So, that's another way in which people can help. Hey, even if you just name drop, have you heard of Social Change? Check them out, follow them. Exactly. That can mean something.
Yep. I know the power of people speaking your name in rooms you're not in. I know the power of that. So yeah, definitely. And I really appreciate, you touching on the importance of the Black farmer. The 1920s, represented about 14% of the farming industry in America, almost 1 million Black farms. And now we represent less than 2%. And that's a coordinated, targeted assault on Black people and our ability to be self-sufficient and other things. And so, the fact that we rarely do really pay attention to the plight of the Black farmer. So I really appreciate you bringing it up. Now we're running up against the clock. So I need to do it really quickly. So
rapid fire.
You could do a TED Talk. All right. And it can't be it can't be about anything money, but you can do a TED Talk. And it was going to go out to the 100 richest people, philanthropists in the world. What would your TED Talk be about?
What can I say to convince you to support freedom? That's what I would say.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Because I think I would just itemize and tell stories of how I've never seen more poverty than I've seen in eastern rural North Carolina. I've seen people literally living in flooded, camper tops. I've seen people who've never had electricity. I've seen people who talk about water like it's a true amenity, not in Africa, not in outer Venezuela, right here in this country. And for them to say this is the land of the free, home of the brave, where's the bravery in that? Where's the leadership in that? So I would love to engage them on what people are actually going through. So I'm not judging them. Like if I was a billionaire, I probably wouldn't be hanging out on whatever either. Like,
Right,
but tap
no.
into the people who can be that
Like,
bridge
Jay,
to
I'm
what's
in the
really going
air.
on.
I don't hear. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Right. You know, like I just happen to love my grind and my heart is with folks who are dealing with that level of struggle. So maybe if I was a billionaire, I feel maybe it would be different. But you know, they don't have that upbringing. And maybe they do. I don't even know all these good folks, so I can't even speak to it. But I would just talk about what story can I tell you to help you truly support freedom. And I would give probably 5 different stories of different backgrounds and see what happens.
No, I think that's fantastic. But here's the second part and the kicker to the question. It's it's Women's History Month. Name 3 women you'd want to be there on stage to support you, dead or alive.
Okay. Well, we already talked about my mother. She's got to be there. Laura
Yep.
Walker, of course. You're talking about Fannie Lou Hamer is one of my favorites in terms of
Amen.
her voice for the struggle and her relentlessness and her
Mm.
willingness to speak truth to power no matter what. But I also think, I mean, you can't go too far without talking about people like folks across the street at the Dearborn Homes. I mean, Carol Wallace, the current leaders and heroes who are giving all she can, who may never ever get the chance to be on a platform like that in their entire life, and her lifelong struggle deserves to be honored as well. So I mean, you're talking about folks who run for president, Shirley Chisholm, stuff like that. There's no shortage. But
And you only had 3. You only got
brother.
3. What you do?
Right. I try to throw people in there just so folks know. Ella Baker and all that. I would have had more time, that kind of thing. But I really appreciate you, man. For real. This has been fun all the way.
Hey, so listen, how can they find you? Give them your social and all of that.
Absolutely. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Chi Social Change, CHI Social Change. Our website, socialchange.sites, like website, SITE. Or, of course, check us at any of our events. I mean, we're all over the country. We're in 8 states. If you're in North Carolina, Georgia, Illinois, California, Indiana, Missouri, Wisconsin, Indiana, there's no opportunity to spend more time with them when we're right there on the front lines doing the service. And even if you're not sure if you want to volunteer, check us out. We've got a great vibe on our little reels and videos and things. And you see, we are truly a multi-generational, multicultural, multi-ethnic organization that celebrates difference. We do not expect people to pass litmus tests of color or ideologies. If you have a heart to do something humanely to address the inhumanity in this country, we love you and we need you. So please jump in, tap in.
No, I love it. I really appreciate you taking the time to share these little nuggets with our audience. So thank you for joining us. And thank you all for tuning in to another thought-provoking episode of Equity in Focus. Special thanks to our incredible guest, Todd Belcour, for sharing his insights, his stories, and unwavering commitment to justice and equity. It's conversations like these that inspire change and action. So I'm Kevin Hooks, reminding you to keep the focus on equity because change starts with awareness. Join us next time as we continue to explore the stories and individuals shaping a more equitable world. Stay inspired and take action. Thank you all.